Hello, everyone. Today I am joined by Joe Skeletor Giannetti. Takes on Jacob Bone at Cage Titans 65 on May 25th. Joe, how we doing today?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Back in my groove, back getting these interviews done. I'm happy to be talking to you today.
Hell yeah, I appreciate you taking the time out.
Of course, of course. So you have this Jacob Bone rematch coming up on May 25th. You fought him at Cage Titans 51, and now you're fighting him again at Cage Titans 65. Your first fight was kind of like a fight of the night, or fight of the year, I should say, kind of fight. You guys went to war. You got the TKO in round 4. I wanted to ask, what were your thoughts when this rematch was brought to your attention?
I've been trying to get the rematch since the first fight. The first time that we had fought, I had actually missed weight. So I told him off the rip, I was like, I owe you a rematch. Let's get it as soon as you want it. And it seemed like he would want it immediately, and then he didn't. And then, when I started having a tough time finding fights, I kept just kind of going back to that hole. And, all right, let's do Jacob Bone again. And it just never worked out. And I don't think he wanted to fight at the time, but I feel like now he's kind of finding his groove on like a 4-fight win streak or so. Um, this is like a big opportunity for both of us. Obviously, he wants to try and show people that I only won because I missed weight, and I'm here to show people that I'm just better. You know what I mean? I'm here to redeem myself, and I'm here to have an even better performance this time around.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I know he's taken out some decent like up and coming guys. I know he took out Mo Alkanani, Zax DiSabatino. He's beaten a couple of the good upcoming guys in the New England MMA scene. So it must be like, it's a good time for you to take him on, because if you get a win here, it shows that you're taking out a guy that's beaten all the up and comers and stuff.
100%. And I feel like, with all my wins in my recent history, everybody kind of just all my haters at least fall back on that, like, oh, you can't make weight, even though I make weight all the time. And then, if you open the book and look back a few pages, Jacob Bone is when I last missed weight. So make weight against Jacob Bone, dominate him. He's on a tear, and it's just my time to shut that back down. So
Oh
if I
yeah.
get that done, then it just kind of puts me at an even better spot than I was prior to this fight.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you talked about having like a lot of respect for Jacob Bone. Does that come with having shared the cage with him already, or is there something like deeper behind that respect you have for him?
I'd say like, yeah, definitely for sharing the cage with him, but just also just like who he is as a guy, you know what I mean? Like I've talked to him since we fought, we bumped into each other in person. He has guys fighting on Cage Titans when I'm fighting or when I'm just there. And we've always been cool. Obviously it's the fight game though, so when we get in there, I gotta do my thing, as much as I respect him and I know that he's fighting for whatever he's fighting for, that is my belt and I plan on reclaiming it.
Yes, sir. And that's, you were the lightweight champion and you were the welterweight champion recently. We actually have a welterweight title fight coming up on that card, Jonathan Piersma versus Jack Congdon. I wanted to ask, what are your thoughts on that fight? Who do you think takes it? And would it interest you to go back up and reclaim your welterweight title after this fight?
I think that's a crazy fight. Obviously Piersma's last fight was a big shock to everybody. I feel like Everett was a little bit overhyped and he was a little bit underhyped. But yeah, no, I think that's going to be a wild fight. I have no idea. It seems to me like it's just like, even though he says he's not a wrestler, he dives at people's legs. He's not much of a striker. I think it's going to be a big striker versus wrestler matchup. But Jack's a big kid, and if he lands that straight, I don't care who you are. That dude hits hard. So I'm interested to see who can implement their game plan first. And yeah, obviously it would interest me, but I'm just like in such a weird spot of, I bounced around weight classes for so long. It made cutting to 55 hard, and it made committing to 70 even harder. So it's one of those things where I really would like to go back up and take my belt if, God forbid Piersma won. I do train with Jack, so I wouldn't fight
Okay.
Jack. But if Piersma won, it would be something that interests me. But I don't really think I have much to gain from it, as besides an ego thing. It'd be cool to beat him. But I don't think the UFC really cares about all the extra stuff I'm doing at 170. They've already said they want to see me at 55.
Okay.
So I'm kind of just focused on being the best 55er around, and then best 55er in the country.
So you talked about the UFC not really caring about 170. They care about seeing you at 155. You were actually up for the Ultimate Fighter this season. I'm guessing it was what, 185? Because I don't think you can make 145.
Yeah, it was 185. So I had talked to my team, my coaches, and some other people that cut to 45 and that are bigger 45ers. And I was considering it. I consider it all the time when big opportunities come around. And everybody that I talked to that fights at 45, like I talked to Calvin Cater and You know, they walk around much lighter than I do, and that's
Okay.
when they're eating junk food. And I'm like, oh, I'd have to cut a leg off to get to that before the even weight cut. So you know, yeah, I was bulking up to 85, and I got big. I was lifting heavy. I was pretty big, and then obviously didn't get on the show, and then right back down to 80 to 55.
So what was that process like, being in talks for the Ultimate Fighter? Obviously, you were already on the show in the championship, but was it different this time around? And did it kind of like you had to pull out of the Sean Lally fight to be able to potentially get on the show? Does just
Yep.
talk about that process a bit and just what was going through your head?
Yeah, so it was obviously different than the first time I had tried out because when I had tried out, you know, we flew out to Vegas in person. It was like an open tryout, and then basically people were getting eliminated throughout the day through
Uh,
different tiers of tryouts. This one was basically just fill out your application. They're gonna Zoom call you, and then they're gonna do it with everybody. Then they're gonna Zoom call you again, and then they'll fly you out to take care of some stuff, and then they'll call you whether you're on or you're alternate or whatever. Um, you know, and I honestly didn't think I was going to get an email back because I had also tried out for the McGregor Chandler season, but I was in fight camp, so I applied like 2 days after the deadline, and nobody even emailed me back. Like, and I know most of the producers, but nobody emailed
mhm.
me back and was like, "Hey, man, you missed the deadline. We can't do it." So I was just like, "Okay, so I'm just going to send an email and see what happens." As soon as I got an email back for the 85 season, I was like, "Okay, there might be something here." And booked an interview with them, and it was two of the producers that worked the last time I did the show,
Okay.
and it went great. You know, we kind of just caught up on what life's been like since the Ultimate Fighter last time, and just like what my goals are, and basically how crazy am I to try and go up to 85 after last time being on the show at 55. And you know, I told him flat out, I was like, I met Israel Adesanya at the Ultimate Fighter finale. He weighed in first, I weighed in second, and I'm already just as tall as him. And I was already bigger than him. Obviously, he had more lean muscle than me, but size for size, like I'm already bigger than him. Um, so it was just a matter of gaining that muscle for me, honestly. And I trained with big guys, and I trained with big guys at AKA. So I wasn't really worried about the size at all. And I told them I was like, my skill set counterweights anybody's weight class. I really don't care. Um, and they said, awesome. You know, we'll get in touch with you at the end of the month, and we'll lock you in, and then we'll just have to do your background check and medicals, and you'll be all set. So to me, it was like, all right, I'm in. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And obviously, they can't tell you ahead of time. You have to wait it out.
Mm.
And I told them, just like last time I got on the show, I said, hey, I got a fight at the end of the month. What do you think I should do about it? You know, I know you can't tell me if I'm on or not, but should I not do it? Should I do it? And they said, we don't tell you guys what to do as far as it goes with fights. But if you were to lose, God forbid, even if it was a freak injury, you get hit in the nuts, something, they're not going to put you on the show coming off of a loss. So it put me at that point where it's like, okay, this interview went phenomenal. I can either double down on this opportunity or I can go fight somebody that really doesn't do as much to get into the UFC. So for me, it was a no-brainer. You know, I took the opportunity and I pulled out of the fight. I told Cage Titans why. I told them they could tell Lally why. He didn't like it. He tried to drag me through the mud online. I thought it was a real punk
Yeah,
move,
so I
but
did see that. Yeah.
yeah, you know, and it was for me personally, it was one of those things where even since it's happened, no, he hasn't messaged me. He's seen me at the fights. He hasn't said anything to me. He's just tagged me in videos and talked shit online. But you know, it's one of those things, man, where it's like as a fighter, as a grown ass man, it's like you should be able to understand that. When I got on the show last time, I pulled out against Dan Dubuque, and
Mm.
I told it actually wasn't for Cage Titans, it was for reality fighting. And I
Oh.
told them, hey, I'm almost 100% sure I'm on the Ultimate Fighter, so I'm not going to be able to fight. I'm so sorry. Could you tell Dan for me? Like, don't worry about it. Just make sure he doesn't tell a bunch of people because they make you. You can't tell anybody. It's like your only rule is you can't tell people that
Well,
you're trying
you
out.
were so mysterious with that post on social media when you said you were pulling out of the fight, and my first thought was like, this has to be some kind of like Ultimate Fighter related, like some secret stuff or like some personal stuff that you just didn't want to
Yeah,
talk about yet. But I was sitting there and I was just like, man, like he's being very secretive about this. Like it was a little suspect, but obviously you
yeah,
can't say anything. You're told not to say
yeah.
anything.
And that was the biggest problem I had was like, because when I told Cage Titans, told them they could tell Lally, it was the same spiel. Make sure he's not running around telling everybody, you know. And then I knew he'd be a little upset. And
Yeah.
then it was like this giant post. He tagged me in it. He said I pulled out for no reason. And then he started messaging random people, telling them that it was because I was trying out for Tough.
Ah.
And I'm like, dude, in hindsight, like I'm friends with the producers from The Ultimate Fighter on Facebook. like in hindsight, that could be the reason I didn't get on.
Oh,
So like, and that's, I got in touch with Cage Titans and I'm like, you're not our parents. It's not your job to solve bickering. But I'm like, he's making a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're complaining that I pulled out of the fight because I'm trying out for TUF and I'm not going to get on. But I might not have gotten on because you were running your mouth about me trying out for TUF.
yeah, it's a
So it
double-edged
was like,
sword. Yeah.
yeah. So like, I felt bad for him at first. And, when he made his first post running his mouth, I commented on it and I was like, I get it. I know you're frustrated. I'm sorry you feel that way, but it is what it is. And then he just kept going. And I was like, all right, dude, like, I don't understand what you want from this. But it's one of those things where it's like I said, nobody said anything to me in person. Everybody said it online. And especially in hindsight, like the way I made the post, like I said, after this, I'm hoping to get back in the cage in March. I was talking about filming for The Ultimate Fighter started in March. So everybody's like, he shouldn't be allowed to just back out of a card and then fight whenever he wants. I'm like, first of all, I'm a grown-ass man. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And second of all, you didn't have all the information. So all these trolls and haters are online trying to talk shit. And it's like, half of them knew I couldn't defend myself. And the other half, they're all fighters that nobody gives a shit about. Guys getting cut from the UFC or guys that fight locally, they're like, ooh, people will go to my Facebook page if I talk shit about Joe. So now everybody's talking shit to me. And I'm like, none of you guys say anything to me in person. Nobody even messaged me. I would have respected a message like, yo, why did you pull out? But none of these guys message me. None of these guys say anything when they see me in person. Like the New England MMA scene is a bunch of clowns. Everybody just wants to talk shit on Facebook. And when, oh, my YouTube views are down, let me make a video about Joe Giannetti because that'll get people interested. It's like these people should be paying me for getting their social media bumping. Like,
pay me for
just
my
because
likeness.
nobody wants to click on your page for you want to click on the page for me. And that sounds so egotistical, but it's so true because as soon as something happens in my life, everybody's got something to say. Everybody's like, this guy sucks, this guy this. But when the truth comes out, it's for the Ultimate Fighter, and I wasn't allowed to say anything. Oh, it's all public shit talk, and then it's private apology.
Yeah.
Oh, hey man, I know you couldn't say anything. I'm like, no, keep that same energy. Go online and apologize to me and let everybody know that you're wrong. But I don't get any of that either.
No.
So it's just like, dude, I say it all the time. When I mess up, whether it's pulling out of a fight, missing weight, I don't know if getting injured is a mess up, getting sick, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm the first one that posts it. You don't see it from anybody else. I'm like, hey guys, this happened, or hey guys, I screwed this up. It's all public. I'm the first one to say it. I own up to all my mistakes. So when people always turn around, especially because nobody around here can beat me in a fight, and they go, you always miss weight. I go, can you count for me on your hands how many times I've missed weight? And they go, and I go, yeah. I go, you can count it on one hand how many times I've missed weight. You can't count on two hands how many times I've made weight, but nobody pays attention to that.
No.
And I'm like, you guys pay no attention and you just want your clicks online. I was like, that's fine. But when you see me in person, you better keep that same energy.
So I know you kind of just like shit all over the New England MMA scene for the past couple minutes, but you kind of are the face of the New England MMA scene. I mean, every single one of your fights has been for a title since 2021. I mean, how does it feel knowing that you're kind of like representing the whole New England when every time you fight?
It feels great. I want to make New England MMA great again. We've had so many legends come out of this area, and I feel like nowadays we have so many peak athletes in this area, like even more athletic than me. I've said it on multiple posts all the time. I'm not the most athletic guy. I don't know what it is. I try. It's just not me, but I'm very skillful. And there's a lot of other things that, that mentally that I bring to the table that these other guys don't. But I want to make MMA great again around here because a lot of these guys have the potential, but they've got ego. They like to chitter chatter online, all these things, or they don't want to wrestle. They just want to strike. I'm like, when I have a fight camp, I'm doing pads. That's about it. I barely spar. I barely do striking. I'm wrestling and grappling every single day. And some of these guys like what looks cool on YouTube and looks good on Instagram, So for me, it's awesome that people look at it that way. Like, oh, Joe, you're kind of the face of local MMA. I'm like, that's awesome. But I don't want to just like be the face for myself. I want to change the game around here. I want to become one of the best in the world I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. I want to be born in Boston. I want to rep Boston. I want to be the best in the world. And I want everybody else to follow my lead. Not saying I'm perfect, but the good shit that I do, follow that. The bad shit that I do, don't.
Yeah, simple as that. I mean, and like you said, it just goes back to everyone wanting to point out the little mistakes you make. But when you do things the right way, 10 plus times, 15 plus times, No one's gonna say anything, and it's just
Exactly.
it's those quiet apologies, like you said. So no, yeah, I get it. It's like a kind of like a double-edged sword with, you know, being the face of New England MMA, because everyone's gonna hound on you for every little wrong move you make or every little thing you do that they don't like. But when you do something good, everyone wants to reap the benefits of that, and it's just
Everybody
like,
wants a pat on the
yeah.
back or that one training picture we ago. They want to post it, and it's like, dude, I get it, you know, but it's just keep the same energy. That's all. And at the end of
Yep.
the day, like athlete, fighter, whatever, like I'm a human. I'm a person. I'm a grown man. I make mistakes. You know, I'm probably gonna make 100 more mistakes throughout my career. It's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Anybody that says they're not gonna make mistakes is full of shit or they're just dumb. And that's my whole thing whenever something happens. I'm like, it's okay to point out when I do something wrong, but just don't pretend you've never done something wrong.
Yeah.
That's what irks me. Is like we're all human. We all do great things. We all fuck stuff up. It happens.
Yeah. So in recent years, we've kind of seen people that lose on TUF in the championship or just in the season regularly get signed regardless of losing on the Ultimate Fighter. Does it kind of annoy you that things have changed because obviously you made it to the championship and you weren't signed? Or does it kind of motivate you to be like, you know, like, let me prove to them that they messed up in not signing me?
It's both, honestly. You know, I've been asked this question so many times, and I think I give a similar but different answer every time. The best way I can describe it now that I've come to terms with is it's an emotional roller coaster. You know, off the rip, I was angry when I was 23. I was angry. I was bitter. I was seeing guys getting signed to the UFC right after that I know I could beat any day of the week. So I was always on Twitter like, oh, guy pulled out. Psh, I'll fight him. I'm
Yeah.
still doing it. You know,
Yeah.
all these guys back out. I'll fight him. But it's one of those things where I go back and forth of I'm pissed off and it annoys me. But it also, on the other end, I'm like, I've gotten so much better since that season of TUF. And who knows, like maybe if they had kept me after that, I get two badass opponents and lose both of those fights after that. And then there's no argument to be made like why should this kid be in the UFC?
Yep.
So but it changes, man. I can't even lie. Like it changes. I'll be on a tear, and then one day I'm like, yeah, I am the man. Like they should have signed me. Like I've gotten so much better. I can't wait to show them that they were wrong. And then 2 weeks later, you know, I'm having a hard training week. I'm down in the dumps. Work's been rough. And I'm like, man, if they had just signed me, my life would be so much better right now. Like this shit sucks. And but then I have to keep reminding myself, I'm like, no, it does suck. But in the end, I can't change it.
No.
And that's the bottom line. I can't change it, but I can change what happens next. And that will change the whole story. You know, if I sit on my couch and piss and moan like, oh, I was on the Ultimate Fighter once and they should have signed me. I'm just that asshole in the bar that was like, oh, I would have been in the NFL if I didn't blow my knee out.
Like the Israel Adesanya jokes they make about Pereira.
Exactly. But like me and my buddies joke all the time. Like it's a lot of blue collar guys that I hang out with. And there's always that one guy on the job site. It's like, oh, if I didn't throw my shoulder out, I could have been the next Tom Brady. Like I refuse to be that guy.
Gotcha.
But I still have the power. I'm not sitting in a bar somewhere. Like I still have the power to make it back and go, yeah, they cut me. I thought it was the wrong choice. They should have kept me, but it was the best thing that ever happened because I've gotten so much better.
No, makes sense to me. I mean, you gotta stay with a positive mindset in the sport, and you always have to be looking on the future and what's next. You can't be harping on what's happened in the past, because that's how you lose what's happening in the present and the future, and that's just how you can't evolve as a fighter in a sense when you just continuously sit there and look at the past. So I'm glad it's been able to
100%.
I understand why you've been annoyed, and I think many people would be annoyed, but at the same time I'm happy that it's been something that's been able to motivate you since then and kind of just get you in the right mindset for the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's honestly something that I've struggled with in my career and in my life. You know, just I think a lot of people do, just like sitting there and thinking about the past and like, oh, I messed this up. I shouldn't have done this. I should have done that. It doesn't do anything good. If you take whatever you can and learn from it and use it, that's it. After you take that lesson and learn from it, it's gone. Forget about it.
Yeah. All right. So last one from me. You said that, you know, your last fight against Jacob Bone was a fight of the year type candidate, but that this fight will not be the same. You said you're going to go out there looking for blood. You're going to go in there trying to get that finish. How do you see this fight going?
I see Jacob Bone getting put to sleep within the first rounds.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, and I didn't say this after we had fought the first time because it sounds like an excuse. You know, there was a lot of things that happened before that fight, a lot of bad things, and I did everything I could to make it to the fight. Obviously, I did, just not on weight. So I don't think a lot of people know this, but 2 days before I left for California to go train at AKA, I had to put one of my dogs down. He
Oh,
got really sick,
I'm
and
sorry.
it was like and the worst part was it was a dragged out process. Like it happened like Christmas, and then we had to put him down on New Year's. And so like the week prior was just like a depressing scene at my house. And then I put him down, and then 2 days later I grabbed the other dog, jumped in the bus, and drove to California. So obviously I was a mess. And then my now fiance was sitting at home. He was a mess. And now both of the dogs are gone because one passed away and one's with me on the other side of the country. And then in the middle of fight camp, I got a staph infection.
Ah,
The first doctor I saw gave me the wrong meds. So I just missed a week of training and it didn't go away. So I went and saw another doctor, and she said that the first one gave me the wrong meds. So then she had to give me new ones, and it worked, but they kicked my ass. So I was just jogging and hitting the bag for like 3 weeks out of camp. And then I timed my weight cut wrong. I missed weight. And so honestly, the day of that first fight, all day, I was like, wow, I'm gonna lose this fight. Like it was God telling me you're supposed to lose this fight.
yeah.
Like everything was against me. And then, I had some friends, luckily, that were just, by my side that were like, dude, forget about it. You're here. You have to go fight. Just go win. People are gonna talk shit because you missed weight, but just go win. That's all you have to worry about. And I did. I went out there and I felt horrible every minute of that fight, and I fought my heart out and I got the win. I think that anybody that's expecting that same version of me that night is going to be very, very surprised when they get the best version of me.
I love to hear it, man. I love to hear it. All right, everyone. Everyone, please go tune in. Cage Titans 65, Joe Skeletor Giannetti versus Jacob Bone on May 25th. Joe, that's it for me. Anything else you'd like to say?
Guys, get your tickets from your favorite fighter. It doesn't have to be me. I say it all the time. Get it from your local fighters. It makes us money. Some of us make more money from our tickets than our purse. That's just the way it is. Cage Titans offers a great commission system. I love the ticket commission. I make a good chunk of money from that. Buy t-shirts from your favorite fighters. These are the guys you want to see in the UFC. $5, $10 here helps training camp, helps you get, your meal prep, whatever. Whether it's me or anybody else on the card, go buy merch from them, buy your tickets from them. But use code Giannetti when you order the fights on Spectation Sports.
Amen to that, man. All right. Great talking to you, Joe.
Appreciate it.
Of course.